50 facts you didn't know about the Hunger Games. Are you hungry? Do you like to play games? Well, we've prepared something that will help you deal with your insatiable hunger for intriguing movie facts. The Hunger Games invite you to play for the last time this year. Yet there's a catch. If you want to be the last tribute standing, you have to make sure you know all there is to know about this extremely delicious movie franchise. Let our movie fact games begin. May the movie facts be ever in your YouTube channel favour. Number 1. Have you ever wondered how the author Suzanne Collins came up with the name Panem for its fictional post-apocalyptic world? Well, the name itself comes from the notorious Latin sayings Panem et circenses, which means bread and circuses, or more appropriately, food and games, or even better, food and entertainment. Sounds familiar? There are so many similarities between our modern world and the Roman Empire, aren't there? The ancient Roman rulers had figured out that they could keep the masses satisfied despite the poor quality of life and poverty if they could ensure violent and deadly entertaining games for people to watch and forget about their daily problems. Again, does that sound familiar? Number 2. Maybe it was a nice thing to sit and watch the Hunger Games at the Citizen of Panem, but you can rest assured that being a tribute wasn't an easy thing. In addition, that was a deadly sport. Here's some dark math calculation. Including the 22 tributes that died in the first Hunger Games, a total of 1,725 tributes have been killed over the period of 74 years of long and bloody history of Panem. Number 3. It's about time to discuss the heart and soul of the Hunger Games. What about the name of the main character, Katniss Everdeen? Her name is derived from the name of a group of edible plant species from the genus Sagittaria, which are commonly known as arrowhead. This is an obvious reference to the character's main and well-known archery skills. On the other side, her surname is a reference to Bathsheba Everdeen, who was the lead female character in the famous Thomas Hardy's novel Far From the Madding Crowd. Suzanne Collins, in one of her interviews, explains her motives for the leading character. The two are very different, but both struggle with knowing their hearts. Number 4. Jennifer Lawrence had a tough start with this franchise in every possible way you could imagine. Did you know that she was paid for the first movie what was for her back then the astronomical fee of $500,000? In addition, she waited for 3 days before she could officially accept the role. Why? Well, it's because she was unsure and worried how the role would eventually affect her career. Can you believe it? For what it's worth, the well-deserved reward and recognition came a little bit late, but not too late. For the Hunger Games Catching Fire 2013, she got $10 million, which is almost 20 times more than the initial offer a year ago. Well done, Jennifer. You certainly deserve it. Number 5. Here's one more interesting thing about Jennifer Lawrence and the Hunger Games. She was initially cast as the lead female role in Savages 2012, yet she dropped out to take part in the franchise instead. The gorgeous Blake Lively was the replacement. On the other side, there was a long line of actresses who were anxious and obviously very hungry to get the role of Katniss Everdeen. Here are some of the most popular Hollywood names, such as Chloe Grace Moretz, Mary Muser, Haley Steinfeld, Abigail Breslin, Lindsay Fonseca, Jadelle Farrald, Saoirse Ronan, Emma Roberts, Kaya Scodelario, Emily Browning, and Shailene Woodley. They were all considered to play Katniss. Now we know for sure that the Savages couldn't possibly skyrocket Jennifer's career with the power and speed the Hunger Games ensured. Number 6. In the extras on the DVD editions, the director, Gary Ross, explains the background story of this movie, which is far from ideal as you might have imagined it be. We were under tremendous financial pressure for this movie. It's under $80 million, and it's a really big movie. Other blockbusters cost 2 or 3 times as much. He was right, and he was successful beyond all studios' best hopes. The first Hunger Games earned more than $400 million on the domestic movie market and almost as much abroad. Number 7. Let's mention some of the other memorable Hunger Games characters. Lenny Kravitz was cast for the role of Cinna without audition in the first place. The director Gary Ross was impressed by his brief performance in the movie Precious 2009 that he hired him directly. Because most of Cinna's scenes include Katniss, Kravitz had to learn as much as he could about his young colleague Lawrence through his own daughter, Zoe Kravitz, who appeared previously with Jennifer in X-Men First Class 2011. It's a small Hollywood world, isn't it? Number 8. Here's more about the relation between Kravitz's family and Jennifer Lawrence. Making friends with Lenny Kravitz's daughter, Zoe Kravitz, was actually a heavy burden for Jennifer. She just couldn't get herself to use his first name, Lenny. Instead, she used to call him Mr. Kravitz from the first day on the movie set. Kravitz quickly found out the reason for this unexpected formality. In addition, the rest of the cast and crew also started calling him Mr. Kravitz. Mr. Kravitz indeed. Number 9. Here's what happened with Woody Harrelson in the Hunger Games. he actually had to play his own Hunger Games, literally. Did you know he is a vegetarian in real life? In scenes where Haymitch is seen eating, he eats either desserts or vegetables, or just drinks. So he's found a way to trick the Hunger Games. Poor Wendy. We guess he was hungry all the time. Number 10. Both Liam Hemsworth and Jennifer Lawrence are natural blondes. We all know that. However, for the purposes of this film, they dyed their hair brown. On the other side, Josh Hutcherson, who's naturally dark-haired, dyed his hair blonde. Can you imagine them in their original hair edition? Well, we definitely like what they did with their hair, that's for sure. Number 11. Here's more than you should know about Jennifer Lawrence and Josh Hutcherson. They were both born in Kentucky. Why is that important for the Hunger Games? Well, this is a state with rural poverty and coal mining, which are the trademarks of District 12. What a striking coincidence indeed. They've been preparing themselves for the role of their lives the moment they were born. They were the perfect match for the movie, more so than they could possibly imagine. Number 12. The old Hollywood wolf, Donald Sutherland, saw the script by accident. He was so impressed when he read it that he lobbied relentlessly for the role of President Snow. Why? You'll find this one little bit hard to believe. It's because the script reminded him of Stanley Kubrick's Paths of Glory, 1957. He succeeded in his plan to get the role, but not before he had to write a heartbreaking letter to Gary Ross explaining why he should be cast. The Hunger Games book series was a huge brand itself that even Donald Sutherland had to play extremely and surprisingly nice in order to get an invitation. Number 13. The Hunger Games was the first film not released by a Big Six studio, Fox, Disney, Paramount, Warner Brothers, Columbia or Universal, to gross over $400 million in the United States. This simple but quite remarkable fact makes the Hunger Games' success even more fascinating, right? Our hats off to LIONSGATE Entertainment and its partners for allowing us to enjoy the Hunger Games on the big screen. Number 14. Elizabeth Banks had to spend 45 minutes every day having manicures done on her fingers. Oh boy, it was completely worth it. Her extravagant appearance in the Hunger Games is definitely one of the most memorable ones. Additionally, most of the dresses Elizabeth Banks wears in the movie were created by Sarah Burton, which belonged to the famous Alexander McQueen brand. Sometimes it's hard to say which is more likeable and popular about Effie Trinket, her outrageous look or her immortal line, "May the odds be ever in your favour." In her case, it is more appropriate to say, "May the looks be ever in my favour." Right? Number 15. Did you know that Effie Trinket appears briefly at the end of the novel itself? However, in the film, his role expands greatly. In the novel, Katniss's stylists are present in District 13, including a character named Fulvia, who is actually Plutarch's assistant. Effie replaces both of these characters in the film. One serious rumour has it that after seeing The Hunger Games Catching Fire 2013, the author Suzanne Collins called the director Francis Lawrence and literally said, "There's no way Effie Trinket can't be in the Mockingjay films." She meant all the Hunger Game movies, and she was right. We can't possibly imagine this movie franchise without her unforgettable hairstyle and dresses. Number 16. Movie mistake alert. If you've got an eagle eye for movie mistakes, then this one isn't going to be a hard one for you to notice. As the tributes' chariots roll into the stadium, the capital citizens are throwing flowers to the tributes as they pass. We've all seen that, haven't we? However, when the tributes are gathered at the end of the roadway, an overhead shot shows it all. The runway is actually clean and flower-free. Who took all those flowers? Here it is. See for yourself.
Holding their hands up, saying, "I'm proud I come from District 12. We will not be overlooked." I love that.
People are sure going to be paying attention to them right now.
And we're ready.
Number 17. The Hunger Games Catching Fire was the highest-grossing film of 2013 in North America. In addition, it was the first film to go to the annual box office with a top-billed female lead since The Exorcist, 1973. On the other side, this was the first movie with a woman as the sole protagonist and primary marketing focus since The Sound of Music, 1965. The Hunger Games certainly made Hollywood history more than once. Number 18. The Hunger Games for Jennifer Lawrence were nothing more than blood, tears and fears, literally. Once she said while filming in the arena, she hit herself with the bow mid-sprint and dove into a pool of jets, leaving her partially deaf for 6 days. It turns out that she was a real hero in both real and Hollywood life. On the other side, she had to sacrifice a little bit of her health for each and every movie of this franchise. The movie series is specific by its very rare decision for Hollywood standards to come up with a new sequel a year after year, for 4 or better to say 5 years in a row. This is a great thing for the fans because they don't have to wait too long. But we weren't sure about the actors, who have to suffer and endure quite a lot. Number 19. Are you ready for some additional mind games other than the Hunger Games themselves? When you took the first letters of the main characters' last names, Effie Trinket, Katniss Everdeen, Haymitch Abernathy, and Peter Mellark's, what you get is quite an indicative word, team. This one perfectly goes hand in hand with the famous Effie's line, "Show them we're a team." You are quite a team indeed. Number 20. Here's a game of last characters' names. Haymitch's last name is Abernathy, and in Pitch Perfect 2012, which Elizabeth Banks, Effie, also plays, her character's last name is Abernathy too. Number 21. Liam Hemsworth once admitted that the most awkward moments while filming were definitely the ones including kissing scenes with Jennifer Lawrence. Why? According to Liam Hemsworth, Jennifer Lawrence would purposely eat foods with garlic and tuna fish before any kissing scenes between the two extremely lovable characters occurred. Let's be honest about this one. Jennifer can eat whatever she wants, and there will still be quite a few Hollywood heartbreakers standing in line for a true movie kiss. Number 22. Let's learn something more about Jennifer Lawrence's extraordinary talents. She did her own singing for the ears-catching The Hanging Tree song. Worldwide, the song went number 1 on the iTunes chart, yet Jennifer Lawrence doesn't like singing. What's even harder to believe is the fact that she hated filming the part where she sang The Hanging Tree. She should definitely do more singing every now and then. However, we don't know how to make her change her mind about this one. Any ideas? Number 23. What's the difference between the song in the book and the movie? In the book, the song The Hanging Tree is sung from the perspective of a man who has been hanged. This man is actually calling out to his loved one to join him in death. When he's asking her to wear a necklace of rope side by side with me, you know what he means, don't you? Yet we aren't quite sure this is Jennifer's idea of for better or for worse main marriage principles practical application.
Are you coming to the tree? They strung up a man, they say, who murdered 3. Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree.
Number 24. The Hunger Games are dedicated to Philip Seymour Hoffman, who tragically died while contributing to this movie with his outstanding performance of Plutarch Heavensbee. Since the majority of his scenes of the final 2 movies were already filmed, the role didn't have to be recast. The movie series was finished with other characters taking on his lines, like Effie Trinket, amongst others. Philip Seymour Hoffman, Heavensbee. How appropriate and symbolic indeed. Number 25. Julianne Moore admitted to her own children that her 2 children, who were both huge fans of the novels, convinced her to sign on for the role of Alma Coyne. Somehow, we have the strong feeling that the children forced rather than convinced her to accept the role. Number 26. Jodie Foster was also considered for the role of Alma Coyne, which eventually went to Julianne Moore. It's worth mentioning that both these top-class actresses portrayed Clarence Starling's character in the Hannibal Lecter series of films. Dr. Hannibal Lecter made his own Hunger Games, but that's a different story. We all know how that ended. Number 27. The Hunger Games is actually the 4th film to co-star Philip Seymour Hoffman and Julianne Moore. They'd previously co-starred in Boogie Nights 1997, The Big Lebowski in 1998, and Magnolia 1999. Number 28. This movie franchise also reunites Julianne Moore and Woody Harrelson, who appeared previously in Game Change 2012, which was also written by Danny Strong. Number 29. Did you know Elizabeth Banks, Effie Trinket, and Julianne Moore, President Coyne, both played love interests of the character Jack Donaghy in seasons 4 of 30 Rock 2006? The Hunger Games successfully reunited so many Hollywood friends. Number 30. Jennifer Lawrence had to cut her hair short the summer before filming began for the 3rd movie in the series. Why? Well, due to damage from constant dyeing for the previous films, there was no other option available. As a result, Lawrence had to wear a wig in Mockingjay for her role of Katniss. We don't mind, and to be quite honest, we don't care. She's gorgeous and lovely either way. Number 31. Talking about the hair sacrifices made for this franchise, Natalie Dormer actually shaved half of her hair when she accepted the role of Cressida. In the book, the character of Cressida actually had her entire hair shaved and covered with ivy tattoos. In the movie, it was Natalie Dormer to suggest an idea of having only one half, her left side, of her head shaved to be covered with fake ivy tattoos. We could have named this movie franchise to be The Hair Games instead, with no danger of making a mistake. Number 32. The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1 was originally planned to be released in China on November 21st, 2014. However, it was pulled a week before release. Why? One of the most probable reasons is associated with the protests in Hong Kong. The political theme of the movie is very similar to protesters' demands for a democratic election in Hong Kong. Number 33. Have you noticed a dog wandering in District 12? Well, this is Donald Sutherland's dog, called Biggles. What was the dog's business on the movie set? Well, you have to ask Donald Sutherland, because we don't have a clue. Number 34. With the first movie's runtime of 2 hours and 22 minutes, and the second lasting 2 hours 26, The Mockingjay 1 is actually the shortest Hunger Games movie to date, with only 2 hours and 3 minutes of running time. Number 35. The word Mockingjay itself is being used more than 20 times during the movie. Okay, we got it. There's no way we can get confused which movie from the franchise we're watching at the moment. Yet, you can never be sure. The movie makers have taken care of this for us. We just couldn't thank them enough for this one. Number 36. Movie mistake alert. Pay close attention to this one. When Casper Fickerman is interviewing Katniss on TV, a chunk of her upswept hairdo keeps changing, hanging down next to her left cheek in one shot, and then it disappears in a close-up. Then it's hanging down again. Number 37. While many people think the characters Castor and Pollux are related to Face Off 1997 movie, the names are actually borrowed from Greek mythology. They are the twin brothers that are transformed into the constellation Gemini. Just pay close attention to their names used in the Hunger Games, and you're going to learn quite a lot about the ancient Greek mythology and the great Roman Empire. Number 38. Again, about the names and their associated meanings. Eddie, Joanna, Annie, Effie, and Alma are actually among the very few characters in the entire series with normal modern names, with the overwhelming majority of all characters the traditional ancient Latin names or obscure plant names, like Katniss, were used. Number 39. In order for Peter to look like he was tortured, many Hunger Games think he went on an extreme diet. Yet little did they know that in reality they used CGI to slim his face in order to look abused and beaten. Don't forget that other injuries weren't CGI generated, but rather the results of real-life troubles and accidents. Number 40. The final scene of The Mockingjay Part 1, where Katniss wakes up and finds out about Peter's been hijacked after he tries to kill her, was originally intended to be the opening scene of The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2, 2015. Nevertheless, during the production, the filmmakers decided ending after Peter is knocked out by the bogs and the sudden black screen was too much of a challenge for general audiences to accept. So it was added after that instead. Oh dear, they're playing with our nerves and trembling hearts with no mercy at all. Number 41. After the end credits, the Mockingjay logo from the Hunger Games 2012 appears, turns into the Mockingjay logo from the Hunger Games Catching Fire 2013, and then turns into the Mockingjay logo from the Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1, to finally transform into the Mockingjay logo in the book. What a nice reminder of a long, epic journey this movie franchise had to endure in order to revive all characters and the story itself. Number 42. When Katniss wakes up in a hospital after Peter tries to strangle her, you can easily notice that her eyes and cheeks are red. This isn't a movie trick. As a matter of fact, the strangling causes the formation of small bruises. Jennifer was right about blood and tears necessary for this realistic tone of the movie. She wasn't exaggerating. Obviously, what happened to the CGI? Jennifer and CGI just don't go hand in hand, do they? Number 43. At the moment when the Resistance members are hacking into Peter's broadcast and playing the hanging tree, right before Peter warns Katniss about the upcoming bombing of District 13, the famous lines from the song Dead Man Called Out for His Love to Flee play. When you translate these words into the current situation in the movie, here's what you get. Peter would be treated a dead man because he is the Capitol's prisoner and they're already torturing him, with no chance of escaping. While on the other side, Katniss is his love, and he is warning her about the bombs, telling her to flee. Luckily for us and Jennifer, the warning did its homework properly. And what's the most important thing? Timely.
Of destruction.
Dead man called out for his love.
They're coming, Katniss. They're gonna kill everyone. And in District 13, you'll be dead by morning!
Number 44. The first line you'll hear in Mockingjay Part 2 is going to be Katniss's line, "Tonight, turn your weapons to the Capitol." This was released with a teaser trailer showing the Mockingjay logo transform from the original Mockingjay in the first movie all the way to the new Mockingjay in Mockingjay Part 2. Yet nobody didn't have to tell us what will be the ultimate goal for Katniss and her rebellious crew, right? The Capitol itself, and the good old, the bad old President Coriolanus Snow. Number 45. Talking about the Capitol, did you know that many of the Capitol scenes were actually shot in Paris and Berlin? Effie definitely belongs to the prestigious school of style made in Paris. On the other side, Haymitch looks so German with his blonde hair and quite notorious beer affection. Number 46. Let's not forget to mention the stars, who were the 3 Academy Award-winning actors. The first one, Jennifer Lawrence, won her Oscar in 2013 for Silver Linings Playbook, and Julianne Moore got one in 2015 for Still Alice. Additionally, Philip Seymour Hoffman won his Oscar in 2006 for Capote. Can we get one more Oscar for the Hunger Games movie themselves? They certainly deserve it. Number 47. This movie franchise features 5 Academy Award-nominated actors who have a total of 15 nominations. The actors are Jennifer Lawrence, Winter's Bone, Silver Linings Playbook, and American Hustle; Woody Harrelson, The People vs. Larry Flint, and The Messenger; Julianne Moore, Boogie Nights, The End of the Affair, The Hours, Far From Heaven, and Still Alice; Philip Seymour Hoffman, Capote, Doubt, Charlie Wilson's War, and The Master; and Stanley Tucci, The Lovely Bones. Of the 15 performances, 3 are Oscar-winning ones: Philip Seymour Hoffman for Capote in 2005, Jennifer Lawrence for Silver Linings Playbook 2012, and Julianne Moore for Still Alice in 2014. This really is a golden Hollywood team any director would die for in his next movie. Number 48. Movie Mistake Alert. In the scene where Katniss is being asked to make the first Rebels propaganda video, they ask for wind machines to be turned on for effect. Yet the blades on these fans start turning the wrong way. They're sucking the air instead of blowing it towards Katniss, as they should be. Number 49. Based on the last book of the Hunger Games trilogy, the final movie is actually split into 2 parts, which is identical to the Twilight 2008 franchise's decision. Wait, what about the Harry Potter franchise and its last movie from the series? We also had a 2-in-1 system. We love them. We forgive them. What other options have we? Number 50. So what's going to happen next? On February 6, 2015, Lionsgate CEO John Feltheimer revealed that there could be a potential 5th film in the Hunger Games franchise. Yet, it's not quite whether or not this would be a sequel or a prequel. For what it's worth, Jennifer Lawrence accidentally revealed that her nephew was playing Katniss and Peter's son during Comic-Con 2015. And we know from the book that they had 2 kids. Maybe the fans themselves can urge the author to write the 4th book of the Hunger Games series. If the Mockingjay Part 2 episodes at the box office like its predecessors, everything and anything is possible. How are we going to call it? The Hunger Games: The Next Generation.